You guys, the 2020 experience is here, and I could not be more excited to share this with you. It is a culmination of the many years I have spent participating in high-level masterminds and the many years of leading masterminds. Quite frankly, it's what I desperately want myself, and I think is needed and is completely missing. I don't know anyone else doing this, and so I put it together just for you. It is for 32 ambitious women who are ready to make 2020 their year. It involves a larger mastermind of 32. It involves a smaller mastermind of 8. It involves accelerators to really dig deep and get momentum when you need it most. It involves one-on-one expert coaching and services. It involves 3 in-person meetings, 2 of which are at Miraval, which is a luxury retreat, which really in and of itself transforms every part of you because it allows you to tap into the wellness and the mindset and the peace that is needed in order to truly go after your dreams. This entire year is intended to help you go bigger than you've ever gone before, to really get outside of your comfort zone and to leave behind those old patterns, those old excuses that keep showing up over and over again, and they're holding you back and keeping you from having the life that you really want. So this program is not for the faint of heart. It is only for those who are 100% committed and ready to go all in, ready to leave their excuses at the door and to really show up in a way that they've never shown up before for themselves, for their families, for their careers, for a group of women that perhaps they've not experienced that before. A tribe of women who are really at that high level, supporting you, pushing you, and challenging you, and calling you on your stuff so that you can be the best version of yourself. It is going to be a year of intense hustle and intense flow, and it is going to change lives. And the ripple effect is going to go far beyond just this group of 32 women. But it is here. It is ready for you. If you're looking for a breakout year in 2020, you can apply at 2020mastermindexperience.com. Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode 141. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard. It is Thanksgiving week here in the U.S., and I have a special treat. So if you need a break from your family, you are going to love this episode because I suspect we're even going to maybe get into some of that. I have with me today Dr. Valerie Rein. She is a psychologist. She is a coach. She is a brilliant badass woman. She is my friend, and we are going to get into all of that. Dr. Valerie, welcome to Hustle and Flow.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather. What a joy to be here.
Okay, so I love to always share backstories. Mm-hmm. So I want to share our story. We have our story.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm going to let you tell it. I'll be interested to hear if it's the same. It probably is.
Well, we met pursuing our passion. We met at a live event, business training live event. And I just felt this instantaneous connection. Boom, here is a woman who actually means business and she gets it. And she is this whole person being who I actually genuinely enjoy. And I just was so attracted to your genius and who you are as a person. I'm just like, we got to stay in touch. I got to follow her around. I got to make sure that we stay connected. And we did. And it's been a few years now watching each other's journeys.
Mm-hmm. So I remember, and the funny thing is, so we were actually, is it Super Shuttle? I generally don't do those things, right? But for whatever reason, we were in Phoenix. I was on one of those shuttle buses, and it was a group full of women, right? And it took, I don't know, all of 30 seconds for us to all figure out that we were going to the same, it was a Jeff Walker event.
That's right.
And this is going to sound terrible, and I hope no one else is listening. I don't remember anyone else from the van ride because I was so mesmerized by you. We just hit it off. And I remember we traded cards and we even kind of hung out there. And then our worlds just kept colliding.
Yeah.
So we stayed in touch, but there were 2 more times, which it's just, a little magical. The universe always likes to step in. We then saw each other, I don't know, a year or a year and a half later at another event, which we had not shared that with each other, hadn't coordinated, and both progressing in our careers. We often like to tell each other that we are inspired by each other.
Yeah.
And then my favorite, share. I want you to share it. Share
that was something
what
else.
happened again in Phoenix. It was
place.
last November. It was this time last year.
I was there at this beautiful hotel attending a live event. And in the break, I walk down the hallway and I see Heather. I'm so excited. Heather, you're at this event too? You're like, yes, I'm at my own event. And it turns out that our events are across from each other.
Yeah.
And then you were so gracious. You're like, you know what? I want you to speak at my event. Are you available during the next break? I'm like, sure.
Yeah, so it was Life and Law Live. And my assistant and I, we were doing our run through. And as we are walking to the room, out comes Valerie. And I'm like, wait, what? It's just always so... And it's not a big hotel. It's just always so amazing how I think certain people magic. Just keep coming into your life, and you couldn't plan it if you wanted to. And so you came and got on stage and shared a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Because, at that point, when did you, okay, I'm starting to get way ahead of myself because we didn't even really talk about you and your background, but we'll just go out of order here. So when did you really coin Patriarchy Stress Disorder?
Patriarchy Stress Disorder came into this world, I want to say this spring. So it's about a year and a half ago now.
Okay. Because you had mentioned it at the live event. That's when you were sharing it, and now full circle, you've got a book and all kinds of other stuff. Yeah. So we're going to get there. So I love that we were, part of that journey with you, and to see how far you've come in a year, right? Learning how to actually do this work and heal old traumas.
It's been really a major year.
So let's go way back in time. So, right, your background is psychology. You have 2 masters and a PhD.
Yeah.
In New York. Tell us that story of, right, of what it was like. I mean, I know this story, so I just want you to share it with everybody else. But really, how all of this even got started. You were like most professional women doing your thing. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was living my happy life. I had all these degrees and I was doing the work that I loved. I had my private practice in psychology in New York and my global coaching and consulting business. And one day I was on the phone with a client when I noticed that I was smiling with only the right side of my face. And the left side of my face was kind of droopy and not responsive. And by the time I finished the call, my left arm was just hanging there. So with my right hand, my right thumb, I Googled the symptoms and the word stroke came up. So I walked out, got into the car, and using my right hand drove myself into the nearest hospital ER. They checked me in and hooked me up to every beeping device they could find. And they were just so nice and accommodating. They really took care of me. They wrapped me in blankets. They gave me water. They wheeled me around different floors and the doors opened automatically. And I began to relax and feel better, as it was like the Ritz-Carlton experience, like in a hospital gown. And then all the tests came back and I didn't have a stroke. And they said it was, quote unquote, just stress. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right. Okay, just stress. I'm good. I looked at the clock and I noticed that I could still make my evening client appointments. So I changed from the hospital gown to my civilian clothes and drove myself to the office and saw my evening clients.
And so many listeners can relate to this right now. Like let's back up to starting with I finished my phone call, right?
I did. I did. I wasn't like, oh, sorry, something is funky. I got to finish this call. No, I finished it.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with a client. I'm going to finish this call. And then you drive yourself to the hospital and then you're like, oh, it's just stress. I've got more work to do. I mean, I think so many of us can relate to that. We always put others first and we take care of ourselves last. And from an outsider looking in, you can be like, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. And yet we all kind of oh, maybe I kind of do that too. We can totally relate.
Yeah, thank you. And for our listeners, hang in there. If you're seeing yourself in this, it's not your fault. So I'm going to get to this in the moment. It is not your fault. So my discovery following that, because I did get curious the following day and the next day, I was like, interesting. It was stress, but I was not feeling stressed. I was just living my normal life. My normal, busy, happy, I would say, life. I didn't feel unhappy. But then that experience did create cracks in that perfect facade. It did. It did open something up that blanket of stress had been hiding and covering for years. And something started to seep in, and that was the feeling that I wasn't quite happy and fulfilled. I wasn't quite satisfied, and it was scary. It was so scary. So no wonder my workaholism, my stress addiction had been covering it so effectively for so many years. It was very scary because I had done absolutely everything the society told me I had to do to be happy and fulfilled. Absolutely everything. Got my career.
You're a psychologist.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only assume that there was some kind of, I don't know, it may not be embarrassment or shame, but what's wrong? I'm helping others do this. What's wrong with me?
Oh, absolutely. What's wrong with me is the question every woman asks herself. It's the question the patriarchy just hands us.
Yep.
And yes, absolutely. And I had been in therapy for years as a client. And I was a therapist and I was helping my clients. So I felt like, what's going on? Why am I not happy and fulfilled? And I started looking at the evidence because my clients were getting unstuck. They were stepping into these big lives, getting in touch with their desire, beginning to live from the place of passion. Why are they doing that? And I'm not doing this in my life. What am I doing with them that I'm not doing for myself? And then I saw that with all of my clients, I was using trauma healing tools, mind-body trauma healing tools. Mind-body is essential here. You cannot talk your way out of trauma. Even with those who didn't think they had any trauma. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wasn't doing it for myself was because, drum roll, I didn't think I had any trauma.
Right.
And in psychology schools, they teach us that trauma is a life-threatening experience, yada, yada. But then I started reflecting on the fact that women have been oppressed for thousands of years. It has been traumatic not to have ownership of our bodies, not to be able to choose who we love, not to be able to have our own money. And women's power has always been a punishable offense. They used to burn us at the stake. And now we have scientific evidence that trauma is genetically transmitted. And then it dawned on me, what if we are carrying the load of intergenerational trauma? We are born with it. We're born with this, what I coined as patriarchy stress disorder. And this is a trauma that we all share, all women share. And I started applying the tools for mind-body trauma resolution, using them in my own life, and my life began to unfurl. It changed dramatically. And you know what that transformation has been. For me, my entire life has changed, and that's a whole other story.
Right.
But that was the origin of PSD.
So I want to dig in a little bit to this, the trauma healing tools, because I've always been honest that I've been in therapy my whole life. I've always been open to that, partly because I thought like that's just what I was supposed to do and I needed. But if I'm being honest, and I'm sure there's a name for the type of therapy I was doing, but like when you're just talking, it never really helped me. So I would show up and I would talk and nothing ever really happened. I mean, I was able to speak, what I was feeling, but that was it. It was not until I got into trauma-based therapy, which is associated with, addiction, where I learned for the first time that trauma might look very different than what the patriarchy tells us, because like your schooling, your education, that in and of itself is patriarchal.
Absolutely. All the diagnostic manuals have been written by white men.
And so it's interesting for me to hear you say, that even you were taught like what trauma is it has to be like this life-threatening situation. And it was truly in those, addiction-based programs that look at trauma differently, where it was like, maybe there was trauma. And I was like, well, not me. And I remember taking a trauma assessment tool, and I scored really, really high on it, to which I said, there must be something wrong with your test. Right? Like I didn't
a natural conclusion.
I was like, I've not had a traumatic life. And so much of the work that I had to do initially was recognizing that trauma can show up in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So for people who are hearing this, right, and for some people that have not been in this space, the immediate tendency might be, wait, we have two very intelligent women saying things that are making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm not sure I'm even buying what they're talking about. Am I right that like that in and of itself is a little bit of PSD?
Yeah, this would be a trauma defense. So my definition of trauma, which may really open up this conversation for everybody to feel included. So my definition of trauma that I arrived at through my own journey and through my experience as a psychologist is that trauma is anything, any event or circumstance that made you feel unsafe in your fullest authentic expression. Unsafe in your fullest authentic expression, and led to creating trauma adaptations to keep you safe. Okay. So if you look back on your entire life and notice how many experiences like this you've had when you were basically told to, sit down and shut up in so many ways, not necessarily overtly, but how our culture does it to women all the time, and the experiences of, just people ignoring, neglecting, bullying, different conflict experience. Not every experience is traumatic in itself, but trauma is characterized by the trauma adaptations that emerge to keep that sore spot from being rewounded. And so rationalizations such as, oh, well, nothing's wrong with me. The test is wrong, or these women don't know what they're talking about, doesn't apply to me. Rationalizations is one of the trauma defenses. It keeps us from going there. Whatever keeps us from getting in touch with what's really inside of us. And it's only through getting in touch with what's really inside of us and reclaiming all those parts that have been sequestered by trauma, left behind by behind closed doors. It's only through doing that we can actually become whole again. We can reclaim our authenticity. We can get to know who we truly are.
You guys, great news. The 2020 planners, project pad, and bookmarks are finally here. More than a typical planner, it is a complete planning system that will revolutionize the way you approach your days, weeks, months, and years. It will help you achieve your biggest goals and work on that to-do list so that you can take back your day and focus on what matters most. Get yours now at lifeandlawplanner.com. When you talk about PSD, because right, like we're talking about women, I'm curious as to your opinion on, because I suspect that it can affect men too, right? Like if they're not showing up in the way that a man is expected to show up, right, in the patriarchy, that they too are silenced and shunned.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And shame is such a big tool of the patriarchy. Women are constantly made to feel ashamed, like something's wrong with me, something's wrong with me. And I say, it's not you, it's patriarchy. Maybe she's born with that. Maybe it's patriarchy. And for men as well, absolutely. Men, women, people across the gender spectrum, absolutely. Everybody experiences the damage from patriarchy in different ways. And there are different ways. I work specifically with women, however, most women who come to work with me end up bringing their partners. Because what we're seeing is that when a woman starts to make this big leap in her life toward her authenticity, she needs to be supported. Her relationship needs to evolve. So her partner needs to evolve. And that involves their own healing.
Yep.
And the same tools work for everyone. These are very human-based and science-based tools. And what I can say about that is also my mission became taking these tools out of the therapy office where I used to practice them as this renegade mind-body practitioner doing much more than talk therapy, because I recognize that these tools can be taught. Anybody can learn these tools. It's great to have a guide on the journey. It always helps, but you can do them on your own. You can be your own healer. And to a great extent, you can really learn to manage your state, your mental health, your physical health. It's like we don't go to the dentist to brush our teeth, right? We brush our teeth, we floss, and we're not taught to do anything like that for our emotional well-being. And this is exactly what I teach now.
How wonderful would it be if children learned this in kindergarten?
Exactly.
I mean, I know when I first started getting the tools that I got in my 30s, I was like, why did no one share this with me when I was a child? And, I suspect it's partly because of the patriarchy, right? Like, part of how power is maintained is by not giving people the tools to recognize that they are being gaslighted, or to recognize that they are not broken. I love on your website, you say you are not broken, because that's really powerful. It gives the power back to you, the individual. So I love that you're on this mission to help people and to give them, the power to reclaim that. Let's talk a little bit about your book, because I am so excited that you've written it all down, right? Like to share with people so that they can go through it. And it's just
all there.
I'm so excited. I just remember when we were chatting and like you had the idea and you were working on it, and it's had so many iterations and it's finally coming out into the world, and I cannot wait to read it. And I'm so excited for everyone else to be able to read it as well. I know it's just going to be so transformational for so many people. Tell us what the book is about. Tell us what people can expect when they read it.
Yeah, I can say it was transformational for me to write it. It was a healing journey, yet another iteration on that spiral of a healing journey. And the book walks you through my 5-step system for healing trauma. It's about PSD, but the same system applies to any trauma. And the system is very elegant. It's very effective. We're seeing great results. People come to this work after seeing, on average, 2 to 3 therapists over the years. And like you and I, through talk therapy, they were still in the same place, right? They had all this insight into why they were so messed up. But they were still messed up. I felt the same way after years in therapy. And so, but with this work, people are seeing results, dramatic results right away. 3 to 4 months, they're already feeling like, or we recently had a 3-day retreat, and one woman who came from Australia, all the way from Australia to Tucson, Arizona for the retreat. And she's actually a member of our year-long program. And that was her first experience with this work. And she said, if this is all that I'm going to get out of this year, this was worth it. So change happens very fast with the right tools, with the right support. So gaslighting by the industry of psychology, self-help, that like you have to be like constantly on this hamster wheel, right, of fixing yourself. It's not true. It's a lie. So I dispel a lot of lies in the book, and I imagine it's controversial.
Yep.
It's gonna make some ripples, ruffle some feathers, and for a woman, it's really written for a woman who, like you and I, they've done it all, right? We've done it all professionally, and on our personal journeys, we've looked into things, we've read books, we've gone to workshops and retreats, and maybe therapy, maybe medication, and now the conclusion that this woman has arrived at is something's so wrong with me because nothing has worked.
Yep.
And the big message of the book is nothing's wrong with you. It's PSD. It's the trauma that we inherited, and we can heal it. So that's what the book is about. It has my stories, it has some client stories. It has concrete tools and practices. It comes with a digital companion where some practices, you can get them on the website, download some audios. And my intention was to really help you feel like, have that experience of what life could be like through those glimpses, because your inner wisdom already knows that you're in this invisible inner prison that I refer to PSD as, and you're yearning for freedom. And I wanted to help validate that for you and help you see the walls of the prison, recognize it. They have nothing to do with you. And there's a clear jailbreak path.
So here's what I love, because it is going to be controversial, but it's not like you're writing a book saying it's, hey, patriarchy, it's all your fault and everything that is wrong with us, right? Like, is your fault and you need to fix us. It's no, we're not making excuses.
Right.
And we're not saying you need to fix us because we recognize we're not broken. And then you're giving tools to actually use, right? So it's not just this dissertation of here's what's wrong with us. It's no, there's nothing wrong with us. There are reasons why we feel this way. And here are the tools to actually move through it.
Yeah, it's very action oriented. Yes, it's very empowering. In my view, understanding what's really going on is very empowering. It's the opposite of the so-called victim mentality and blaming. Yeah.
It's from a place of empowerment. And I absolutely, absolutely love it. I'm curious as you were writing it, because it is controversial. And even when we have insight, like, right, we know that a lot of our fears, especially as women, about speaking out, right? We have these, should I say this? Or is that too much? Or did I go too far? Part of that is, right, from PSD. I'm curious, did you have to, because I know you said you were doing some of your own healing from writing this book. Did those fears even pop up of, is this too much? And how did you use these tools to work through it?
That's a great question. This book was almost not written so many times, Heather. I was so close to just walking away. And I'm thinking about all the women who have this dream, who have this desire, that they're saying to themselves, I'll do it later. I'll do it when kids are out of the house. I'll do it whenever, right? The next milestone. And my heart goes out to you, and it's not your fault. And it wasn't my fault that I almost abandoned the book. many times. And it was a lot of healing. It was a lot of inner work. It was a lot of releasing my own trauma. It was ancestral trauma around voice, because remember, being visible for a woman has never been safe, ever, ever. Still not safe, right? Like we know, we're no longer burnt at the stake, thank goodness. But we have inherited these very strong trauma adaptations, and they're holding us back, and they're showing up as procrastination, as self-sabotage in different ways, as addictive behaviors, as self-deprecating thoughts, the inner critic. And these are all trauma defenses. That's all they are. They're doing their job of keeping us safe by keeping us stuck, by keeping us in this invisible inner prison. And did I have a dance with them? And I'm still dancing with them every step of the way. But the truth is that I am so aware of what's going on now, and I have so much resources to draw on. I don't buy into these stories. I don't buy into these defenses, and I know exactly how to work with them. So that makes things possible that wouldn't have been possible before. Like, I'm speaking at a major conference. That was my dream conference. Yeah, actually, by the time this airs, I would have already spoken at this conference. That's
how
interesting.
Exciting. Yay.
Thank you. And it's one of those things that would have been completely unthinkable for me even a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Such a full circle moment. I love it. I love it. Okay. So the book is technically, it's coming out, is it December 3rd?
Yes, December 3rd is the official birthday. It's going to be available on Amazon.
But people can pre-order now, right? So like you might,
yes.
Our listeners are going to be hearing this technically before the book is out, but they can go ahead and pre-order, and they can even get the first chapter now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're all action takers. So drvalerie.com/book. You have a couple of options. You can just straight up pre-order the book. You can email me and say, hey, Dr. Valerie, I want your book. And I'll send you the ebook, no charge, for an ask to leave a review. That's my ask. Just if you resonate with the message, leave a review on Amazon. That's also an option. Or you can check out the first chapter. Just click download. You'll get it. And the benefit is that you'll become a part of the community by receiving the newsletter, receiving the updates about the virtual book launch party, about all the offerings that we have coming up, opportunities to benefit from this work. So we'll be connected.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to read it. And again, you are just such an inspiration. It has been an honor for me to be on this journey with you, and you can't get rid of me. We're going to stay on this journey together. And even if we tried to stop, I'm pretty sure the universe would keep, putting us in each other's lives. It's crazy how we just run into each other.
I am so grateful for that, Heather. And I just want to say that's another benefit of this work, because you and I have both been on this trauma healing journey. Trauma creates barriers inside, and those barriers are both blocking what wants to be expressed from us into the universe and what wants to come in to us from the universe. You see? So the more we take down these barriers by healing trauma, the more we're in the flow of magic like this.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful.
Yes. So my girls out there who are they're all excited. Again, they're like, here are these two very credible, intelligent women talking about this, which is like, again, it's not typical. People judge and whatever, but I feel like there's so much freedom with being able to just be honest about who you are, and knowing that regardless of what others think, the magic is real and we know it, we experience it. And it's okay. It's okay to be this badass businesswoman who is fully in touch with her intuitive side, that knows that it's not all logical. There's so much more to it.
And logic is a patriarchal construct, and separation of the mind and the body and intuition and spirit, divide and conquer, is a patriarchal construct. So we're reclaiming our true full spectrum powers. Yes, we're scientifically grounded, and true science is experiential. You learn from observation. I've been observing this to be true. So it's a scientifically grounded statement. So yeah, there are a lot of assumptions to be questioned there. And I just know that my life is so much fuller and more joyful and exciting using a non-patriarchal lens.
Okay, we could go on for like days and weeks with this stuff.
Sure.
Perhaps, I'm sure we're going to actually do another episode at some point. But this has been such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's been delightful.
For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.